It's a minute after 7 o'clock. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching News at Prime with me, Masa Gigana. Now, the Johannesburg High Court has dismissed a bid by the MK party to prevent the Judicial Service Commission interviews from going ahead on Monday. The party had for the sitting to be halted while they appeal an earlier ruling that's barred its parliamentary leader, impeached former Judge President John Hlophe, from partaking in proceedings. We are joined by MK party spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndhlela for this conversation. Nhlamulo, thank you so much for coming into studio to talk about this. In your statement, you were pretty clear. You're disappointed in this judgment. Just take us through that and tell us more.
Yeah, indeed, we're disappointed at the outcome. You know, especially taking into consideration the kind of submissions that were made and the interaction with the judge himself. But more so in the sense that, you know, the judge here had an opportunity to, in effect, ensure that these sittings that are going to happen from the 7th and those judges, in effect, are not tainted off the back of a process that is, in effect, quite honestly, quite unconstitutional. So that's our biggest issue. And instead, it takes this hot potato and sends it back to his colleagues in the Western Cape High Court to say, well, you created this mess, you sort it out.
You also did say, speaking of also Judge Wilson as well, you did say in your statement that you commend him and that he was quite a breath of fresh air in these proceedings. Well,
taking into consideration the dynamics and the complexity of the case and the turnaround time that he had to apply himself even before the hearing, you could tell that he had interacted with the documents quite well. That was telling in how he engaged with the legal teams and never interjected. And you could see that this is a person that was focused on facts more than fiction, made it very clear that this is blatantly political, but the sensitivity that come with that, you know, are such that it allows him as a judge to only focus on the legalities and the merits of the case, which is what he did. And he was engaging, and that was quite commendable to see someone engaging in the form of a judge, focusing on facts and not fiction.
Speaking of not making it political as well, earlier we spoke to retired Constitutional Court Justice Johann Hlophe, and he was calling on politicians and political parties to take their squabbles away from the judiciary and sort it out politically. How else would you be able to sort this out politically?
Well, this was resolved politically inside the National Assembly. Remember, we were appointed there as political parties. It was the political parties that voted for a nominee, in this case, Dr. Hlophe, that was nominated by us, to participate in the JSC sitting. And there was a vote, and he was nominated to sit there. That was the political process. That is a process that was democratic within the National Assembly. Now, you know, you find the DA using the courts, you know, for its side shows to deal with political scores. And that's what's happening. And that's why we've been calling to say we need to change this system. We are the lawmakers as parliamentarians. We make the law. The judge's responsibility are to ensure that the law is implemented according to the framework of the law that we set. It can't be that when we make decisions off the back of being voted by our people, that, you know, some judge somewhere is going to create a law of his own or challenge the law that has been taken by lawmakers. And that's what's happening in this country. That's why we say it needs to change, totally.
Some have said it does need to change because when the laws were so made, they didn't consider the fact that there would be one day an impeached judge who could then possibly sit on the JSC. So they're saying it should change, but in the opposite of what you're saying.
No, it's not necessarily in the opposite.
Because they're basically saying that he shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. The law should have been cultivated or formulated in a way that it doesn't allow someone who's been impeached to then have the opportunity to, one, be a member of parliament and then also go to the JSC.
Here's the reality. You just said it, that they couldn't have anticipated such an outcome. So who is this person that could say that he shouldn't have participated in the first place when the lawmakers initially didn't even understand that there'd be this kind of an outcome? You can't say that. That's what we're saying. Stop fiddling and meddling with National Assembly issues, which draws its powers and privileges from the Constitution. And that's what was happening here. A decision was taken democratically. Dr. Hlophe, as a member of the National Assembly, is allowed to participate in any committee. Now what's happening is that, and this is exactly the problem, now they're finding themselves gerrymandering with the law because now they're using the courts as an ad hoc arbitrary tool to deal with political decisions that are taken within the National Assembly. Why? And that's the biggest issue that we have here. And also further infringing on Dr. Hlophe's constitutional rights, including MK Party's constitutional rights.
Would you say that as the MK Party, you're also using the courts, but also in retaliation? For instance, you also said you will be exploring your options, those being political options and legal options. Does that mean more court cases?
You know, someone said to us, well, you're losing your cases now. Do you think that maybe you need to change your legal team? And we said, in actual fact, it's not the legal team that has to change. It's the legal system. We know the system that we're fighting against, how it works. We know it's cloak and dagger. We know it's got eyes. Therein is the problem. The problem is how this constitution is structured, the judiciary is structured. That's where the biggest issue is when it comes to the laws of this country and how the courts are dealing with issues. And that's what we need to deal with. So when you see us going to court, we, might I tell you, ever since we've come to the scene in the political landscape, have exposed South Africans to issues in the judiciary and the framework of the law that they never knew existed. And they learned this through MK. So it's important that we continue to expose this system, continue to expose what's happening, the underhandedness, and ensure that South Africans are well aware of what is happening until South Africans actually take a decision and stand and ensure that we get a two-thirds majority to actually maybe even totally overhaul this judicial system.
What are those legal options and political options? Because come Monday, Dr. Hlophe will not be in those proceedings as well. You've said that the interviews will be marred in controversy because of his absence as well. Your role as the MK moving forward, what are those options that you're exploring?
Well, naturally, we've just been informed of the judgment as of today. We are applying our minds, and when we say consulting, we're consulting both politically and legally, and looking at what the options are there and what the program of action ought to be going forward. Until then, I can't say much. It would be obnoxious of me to put the cart before the horse. But we'll be communicating with South Africans, as I mentioned in the statement, and that's what it is.
Does that mean come Monday, the MK Party will not have representation in those meetings because of the absence of Dr. Hlophe?
That's a decision that will be taken by ourselves. I mean, we've been engaging as the national team and with the legal team, and that's a decision that will be communicated to South Africans tomorrow.
Is there a possibility that there will be an absence or a possibility that you will fill that position for Monday?
Let me say the solution will be one that is implemented within the law.
You don't want to tell us who you might put in his place?
Who we might put in his place? I don't know if there's someone who's going to be put in his place. What I'm saying is that we need to look at every legal avenue that's available to us and also political solution to dealing with this situation. And that will be communicated tomorrow. I can't say much more than that. It's just a couple of hours, you'll get to know.
We're very impatient. Just in terms of like what happens generally outside court cases as well, we see with political parties, there'll be either protest or support or members outside. Should we expect that MK Party supporters will be outside these proceedings? Well, should we expect any disruption, perhaps?
No, we're not disruptive people. We've never been disruptive. Anyone that sees us as being disruptive, quite honestly, has got their own agenda and viewpoints of, you know, what we believe should be a democratic process. We should be allowed to take action within the law that we believe is representative of, you know, our plight, our concerns. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to ensure that whatever action we take is an action that's taken within the law.
So only a couple of hours we should wait, impatiently so. Thank you for coming into studio, Nhlamulo. That is the MK Party spokesperson, Nhlamulo Ndhlela, just giving reaction to today's outcome of that court case, of course.